The cold spray of the Atlantic Ocean was a familiar solace to Namor, the submariner, even in his exile. His realm, Atlantis, had cast him out, and the weight of that banishment pressed heavily upon his shoulders. He stood on a desolate, rocky outcropping, the vast, indifferent sea stretching before him, contemplating his next move. His thoughts, often turbulent and proud, were now focused on necessity, finding allies, perhaps even among the surface dwellers, to reclaim what was rightfully his. And, oddly enough, one name had surfaced as a potential, albeit volatile, candidate: the Hulk. But unbeknownst to Namor, or indeed to the world at large, a malevolent mind was already at work, twisting the very fabric of power. Miles away, cloistered in a secluded, almost forgotten corner of the coast, sat the Puppet Master. His name, Philip Masters, belied the insidious nature of his genius. He wasn't a master of strings and wood, but of a far more terrifying medium: radioactive clay. With it, he could sculpt crude likenesses, and through these effigies, exert an unbreakable mental dominion over living beings. And his latest, most ambitious puppet? None other than the Jade Giant himself, the Hulk. The process was chillingly simple, yet devastatingly effective. A small, crudely formed clay figure, infused with the Puppet Master's unique radioactive blend, sat on his table. And as his fingers manipulated the clay, a silent, unseen tendril of control snaked its way across the miles, burrowing deep into the raging yet vulnerable mind of the Hulk. It bypassed the brute strength, the gamma-fueled fury, and went straight for the core of his being, twisting his very will. The Hulk, usually a force of chaotic nature, was now a weapon, pointed and precise. The Puppet Master's command echoed in his controlled mind: find the Submariner, destroy him. And so it began. Namor, still lost in his somber reflections, felt it before he saw it. A tremor in the very ground beneath his feet, a disturbance in the air, thick with suppressed rage. Then he emerged from the dense coastal fog, a hulking green silhouette, eyes burning with an unnatural fury. It was the Hulk, but something was profoundly wrong. This wasn't the volatile, unpredictable ally Namor had considered. This was an automaton of destruction. Hulk, Namor's voice, usually booming with authority, carried a note of confused alarm. Why do you attack? But words were meaningless to the controlled behemoth. The Hulk charged, a living battering ram of gamma power. Their battle was not just a clash of titans, it was a symphony of raw, unfettered power against the unyielding will of a king. Punches, each one capable of leveling a small building, rained down. Namor, despite his aquatic strength and agility, was on the defensive, forced to dodge and parry the relentless, mindless assault. He recognized the sheer power, but the lack of reason, the utter vacancy in the Hulk's eyes, was chilling. The fight raged on, tearing through the coastline. Cliffs crumbled, ancient rock formations dissolved into dust, and the very ocean itself churned in protest. Namor, in his desperation, unleashed the full might of his elemental control, summoning massive geysers and whirlpools. But the Hulk, driven by an external will, was relentless, seemingly immune to pain or fatigue. Back in his hidden lair, the Puppet Master watched, a smug satisfaction spreading across his features. His tiny clay figure mimicked every devastating blow, every crushing impact. He was playing with gods, and he reveled in the chaos. His scheme was perfect. Pit two of the most powerful beings on Earth against each other, watch them destroy one another, and then the world would be his for the taking. But he had gravely underestimated the sheer, raw, and uncontrollable power he was wielding. The combined force of their titanic struggle, the seismic shockwaves emanating from every impact, the very manipulation of the ocean by Namor in his defensive fury, It all converged into a single, cataclysmic event. The ocean, already agitated by their clash, began to swell, not just in waves, but in an unimaginable, colossal surge. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and the impending doom. Namor, for a moment, paused, his eyes widening. He saw it building, a wall of water, impossibly high, impossibly fast, roaring towards the coast. A tsunami, a direct, terrifying consequence of their battle. It was a force of nature so immense that even they, beings of incredible power, felt dwarfed by its scale. The tsunami roared inland, a liquid mountain. It swept over the coastline, engulfing everything in its path. And, critically, it obliterated the puppet master's hidden base. The frail walls, the delicate equipment, the very ground on which it stood were utterly washed away, pounded into oblivion by the ocean's fury. As the monumental wave receded, leaving behind a trail of devastation, something else happened. With the destruction of the puppet master's base, the connection, that insidious mental link, was severed. The radioactive clay puppet, now shattered and dissolved in the saltwater, could no longer exert its will. And just as quickly as the rage had consumed him, it drained away from the Hulk. The immense green form shimmered, shrank, and in its place lay a man, broken and unconscious, Bruce Banner. Namor, battered and bruised, but alive, looked down at the unconscious Banner. The initial surge of anger, the confusion, slowly gave way to a profound weariness, perhaps even a flicker of sorrow. He had just fought a potential ally, driven by an unseen hand. The grand alliance he had envisioned had been born in destruction, its first act a catastrophic battle, ending in a natural disaster and the collapse of a mind. This particular encounter, often overlooked in the vast tapestry of Marvel history, offers a potent, recurring lesson about the Hulk. It highlights his profound vulnerability, not to physical force, but to psionic and mental manipulation. Time and time again, villains, understanding that the Hulk's strength is almost limitless, have bypassed his physical defenses to target his mind. Whether it's the puppet master's clay, the purple man's pheromones, or various telepaths, the Hulk, for all his power, remains susceptible to becoming a pawn, a destructive tool in the hands of others. It's a tragic paradox, a creature of boundless power, yet often a prisoner within his own mind, unable to control his actions when a clever enough foe pulls the unseen strings. It's a reminder that even the strongest among us can be vulnerable in unexpected ways, and that sometimes the greatest battles are fought not with fists, but within the confines of the mind. What are your thoughts on this lesser-known tale of the Hulk and Namor? Does it change your perception of the Jade Giant's vulnerabilities? Share your insights and theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the deeper lore of these iconic characters, please consider subscribing or following for more stories and reflections. Your support helps us explore these fascinating narratives together.